Welcome to Screw the Commute, the entrepreneurial podcast dedicated to getting you out of the car and into the money with your host, lifelong entrepreneur and multimillionaire, Tom Antion.
Hey everybody, it's Tom here with episode 575 of Screw the Commute podcast. I'm here with Genesis Amaris Kemp. Now, she is a multifaceted and multi-dimensional lady and she can't be put in a box or compartmentalized, I'll tell you that. She's known as a firecracker and mindset hacker, and she's a force to be reckoned with. And she's going to teach us how to speak up for ourselves. And she's also the host of the great Gems podcast, which I had the great fortune of being on not too long ago. So we'll have her on in a minute. So I hope you didn't miss episode 574. That was Angela Mulrooney. And she calls herself the arsonist because she's burning down what's holds you back to unleash your personal brand on LinkedIn. She's a former dentist, and it's kind of crazy. Right in the middle of a big surgery on somebody, her hand quit. It would not work.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, yeah. And I said, that's a trauma for two people there, not just you. So that was the last day of her dental career. So she had to pivot to a lot of other things and ended up on LinkedIn, and she's living in Nicaragua, which she says with a Canadian accent, which is very strange. But anyway, check her out at episode 574. And anytime you want to get to a back episode, you go to screwthecommute.com/ and then the episode number 574. All right, make sure you pick up a copy of our automation ebook. We sell it for $27, but I'll tell you what, people just love this thing. We're giving it away to you for listening to the show. You're welcome to spread it around to all your friends that like to listen to the show. But we figured it out a couple years ago. We estimated, this is not just making stuff up out of thin air. We estimated that just one of the tips in the book has saved me 7.5 million keystrokes. And all that extra time, instead of fighting with my computer, I'm spending with customers and prospects, and that's why we make so darn much money around here. So grab a copy of that at screwthecommute.com/automate free. And while you're at it, pick up a copy of our podcast app at screwthecommute.com/app. That's APP. And you can put us on your cell phone and tablet. Take us with you on the road. Now, we're still doing great with this program. I'm so proud of that. I have to give persons with disabilities scholarships to my internet and digital marketing school. It's going great. 2 of the people are blind. And I'll talk about inclusion with Genesis today. Well, these people are blind, shooting videos and doing internet marketing. I mean, it's very inspiring to see this happening and that I'm a part of it. And you can be a part of it too. We have a GoFundMe campaign to help finance the whole deal. And we're going to get them either hired or in their own business or both. And then I took a grant writing course, and then I'm going to roll it out to big corporations and foundations and help hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people with disabilities to get gainfully employed, because their plight is really, in many cases, desperate. There's 4 times the amount of suicide in that arena, almost 4 times the amount of unemployment and depression. And so I'm going to do something about it, and all us strong Screw the Commuters out there can do something too. So check that out at my school website, imtcva.org/disabilities. And you can see their videos up at the GoFundMe campaign. Any little bit helps. And of course, all the stuff will be in the show notes along with Genesis' great stuff. All right, let's bring on the main event. Genesis Amaris Kemp is a visionary life coach, motivational speaker, and author. She's a woman that empowers others to speak up for themselves. Yeah, it may be challenging and it might hurt, but in the long run, she desires to encourage others to help those who may not have a voice. She's a trailblazer who wants others to live out their dreams, goals, and vision. And she says, we all have been given an excellent purpose in life. It's up to us to walk it out and live victoriously. Genesis, are you ready to screw the commute?
Heck yes.
All right, start. Do it. So speak up for yourself there, young lady. So that's one of your big themes in the whole bit, right?
Yes, absolutely. Because I always like to say what the younger folks say these days, closed mouths don't get fed. If you don't speak up for yourself, people can't read your mind. And if they do, they'll make assumptions that may not even be true about you, your business, your brand, your product, or service. So why not open your mouth and crush those assumptions and unconscious biases?
I agree wholeheartedly, and I'm going to ask you. I kind of think I have a feel for how you got into this. You spent a long time actually at the dreaded jobs, working in the oil and gas industry, which is not known for taking care and being real nice to females. So, so how how did that go? Is that how you got into this whole thing?
So I actually fell into the oil and gas industry, to be honest. My first job was actually in the medical field. I worked at the cancer center, and after I got laid off at 4 months into my job, I needed another one to fulfill some of the requirements for this co-op program that I was in, right, Tom? So
Hmm.
I went to my teacher pretty much and told her, hey, I got laid off. I don't know what to do. And she's like, well, what you're going to do is find another job to complete this requirement for this class. So her and I started collaborating, and she told me about this small mom and pop oil and gas company that was British ran, and the owners were actually British. And I was like, oh, not that I really wanted to do that because my whole plan was to go to medical school, and that was my parents' dream for me. But then I got sucked into oil and gas and spent 12 years in the industry, 4.5 with a smaller company, and then 7.5 with the big boys.
What were you doing in the oil and gas industry?
So when I first got in, Tom, I was an imaging clerk, and I quickly grew to hate that role because there was a few times where I actually fell asleep at the desk, and my supervisor came and tapped me, and I was mortified and so embarrassed, but it was so boring. Imagine just sitting there scanning papers all day long. And
Oh,
then what do you do to keep yourself occupied? Eat snacks. So you're sitting, you're eating. What is that going to make you? FAT.
and
Um,
sleepy too.
yes. So then I started to do what I know how to do best, network. And I was networking with some of the guys in the other department. I started with project management because I thought, oh, that's really interesting. And then from project management, once I worked in that role for a bit, I went over to HSC, which is health, safety, and environmental. And then from there, I became the interim HSC manager. So once I got all the way up to the corporate ladder with that company, and my salary was capped out, and I was doing more work, but no more money. And I was like, ¿Dónde está mi dinero? Where's my money? And that is what really pushed me to start applying elsewhere with the Fortune 500 companies because I wanted to travel. I wanted to work with a company that had international ties and to do the things that I couldn't do with this small company because when you work for a small company they don't have as much capital to
Hmm.
fly you around the world and etc. But that was a shocking experience for me transitioning as well as a humbling one because I had to start over in my career because no one knew me at that company. So I started at the bottom again, but this time as an administrative assistant. And I'm like, I'm not your wife at work. I'm not a pusher. I'm not a sandwich fetcher or anything like that. You're going to respect me just like I respect you. And then I quickly learned that if I wanted to succeed in that business, you really have to understand the politics because there's a lot of politics in oil and gas, especially when you are a minority. And I'm going to break it down this way, Tom. I was a minority because I was a woman in a male dominated field. And then I was also a minority because I was a woman of color in a male dominated
Yikes.
field. So it's like, how am I going to navigate this world and show that I am competent and capable of doing more than just being an administrative assistant? And at the time, I was in school for my undergrad and I was a psychology major because what did I say I wanted to do earlier, Tom?
Hmm. Yeah,
I,
I was a psych major too, believe it or not.
and then my older brothers, they're like, that's such a pipe dream. You're not going to make any money unless you get a master's or a PhD. So then I had to like play to my strengths. And I was talking to my supervisor, and he's like, go to school, talk to your counselor, bring me the degrees plans that they offer, and I'm going to help you choose one, because you're not going to make it in this company with a psychology degree. And I was like, okay. So I had two choices, Tom: supply chain and logistics and technology, or MECT, mechanical engineering and technology. I'm like, I'm not about to do all that math. But I was like, oh, what I can do is take some of these psychology credits that I have, finagle them, and petition them so those credits can be applied to this supply chain degree. And that's what I did. So I graduated with a degree in supply chain and logistics in technology, with double minors in purchasing and organizational leadership and supervision, because that's broad. I could do that in any industry. So I was thinking ahead. If oil and gas doesn't work out, what other industries need a supply chain expert?
Mhm.
Every industry.
Now, especially now. I'll tell you that. Yeah. So, all right. So let's dive into a little bit about, now you wrote a book, and that's very interesting title, Chocolate Drop in Corporate America, From the Pit to the Palace. So how did that come about? What's it about? And was it stimulated because of your experiences in that male dominated business?
Yes. So it was definitely stimulated by the experiences that I faced working for this particular Fortune 500 company for 7.5 years. The title that you asked, I'm going to break it down by the title and the subtitle:
Right.
Chocolate Drop in Corporate America. So, y'all, you may not know by me speaking so eloquently and linguistically that I am melanated. I am that chocolate drop, or some people would say Black or African American. I was like, everybody says Black or African American. And then some people get offended because they're like, I'm not from Africa, so I'm not African American. And wild card here, I'm actually Caribbean and South American descent. My mom is Caribbean, and my dad was from South America.
Well, didn't
So I
I
was like,
just hear you say y'all?
yeah,
That's what I thought. You know what the
yeah,
plural of y'all is, right?
you all.
Or all y'all.
So I wanted something fun. And I was like, what's fun and irresistible? And I was like, chocolate. Because it's white chocolate, dark chocolate, milk chocolate. It comes in all variations, whether it's crunchy, smooth, semi sweet. And I was like, and you just can't have one bite. Who has ever taken a bite out of a chocolate bar and just said, it satisfied me? I'm sure
Right.
no one. Before you know it, you're over there licking that wrapper, depending on what chocolate bar it is, right? So I was like, I'm that chocolate drop in corporate America, because I worked in corporate America. Now for the subtitle, Tom, I'm like, from the pit to the palace. Because in life, I had to go through some dark seasons and some pit experiences in order to solidify and come into understanding of who I am and not whose I am. Because when you know who you are and you know your why, you're going to walk with confidence. You're going to hold your head up high, and you are going to act like your poo does not stink, because you have ownership, right?
Yeah.
And that's what it was, from the pit to the palace. Because if I told you that I overcame depression at a young age because I was a victim of bullying, that I went through loss because I was laid off twice when I was a teenager. My very first job, I did not want to go into fast food. So I found me a job before someone could find me one, and it was real estate. I was a personal assistant to a broker at Remax Preferred Homes. Then after that, I worked at the Cy-Fair Cancer Center. Then after that was my oil and gas hiatus, where I spent 12 years in the industry. So you could see how someone at such a young age has acquired 15 years in a corporate setting as a whole, and 12 of those years were primarily spent in the oil and gas and energy sector.
Well, Now I understand that your father was a big supporter of you and a big influence on you. What kind of things did he teach you? Is he the impetus for you to speak up? Because a lot of parents are for the kids to shut up and speak when you're spoken to.
Oh, yes. My dad was a firecracker just like me. Whenever you come from South America, you have that swag, you have that tang, and you definitely have that pit bull bite. And so my dad always taught me that if you want something in life, you have to go after it. And he's like, if you know who you are and whose you are, the sky is the limit. And my dad was very religious as well as spiritual, and he will always be missed. I can't believe that it's been a year and a half since I lost him. Um, and my mom on the other side was very conservative and, just quiet. So I always did stuff with my dad. Ever since I was a little girl, we were like two peas in a pod. He was my road dog. Even when I got married, my dad was the type of dad where he would start my car for me in the morning. He would make me a fresh cup of tea. So I would have one Arctic cup, and then the other cup would be my Yeti cup with water. He would load in my backpack that had my laptop in it, load in my purse, and everything was good to go. And if it was like cold or icy, he would defrost the ice off my car. If it was hot, he'd make sure the AC's on. He had everything ready. So all I needed to do was just step my pretty little toes outside the house and jump in the car and go.
No wonder you miss him. Yeah,
Yeah.
you
And
daddy's girl, I tell
yes, and
you.
my husband was like, "I'm not your daddy. I'm not gonna do that." And I'm like, "But I'm a princess," or to you, "I'm a queen." And so it was just different things. Like my dad's love for me, we had such a strong bond. Like we even would go to the mall, and I remember the first time my dad and I had matching shoes. We went to the Converse store and bought matching shoes, and then after that, we had matching Vans. And when those spike belts were like popular, like the ones that were like silver and
Yeah.
it looked like um my dad bought one of those belts or whatnot. And I would never forget when he lost his, he took mine and we got in an argument because he's like, "You got my belt on," and I was like, "No, I don't." I was and it was so funny. And I just think back about all those memories and the different experiences that we shared. He helped me a lot in Spanish class. I actually passed and did better than some of the Mexican Americans or
That's funny.
Hispanics. And when they saw my dad, they're like, "But he's black and he speaks Spanish." And I was like, "Sí, mi papá habla español." And I said, "Yo estudiar español." And we would always have like these different little banters or whatnot. And then they started to gravitate because they're like, "Oh my gosh, we need to meet her dad." So they invited my dad to come to class. They wanted him to tutor other people. I was like, "Oh no, I'm not offering my dad services for free. Where did they do that at?"
Well, I heard you say earlier about where's the money. So all I know is like, ¿Dónde está el baño?
Where's
Where's the
the
bathroom?
bathroom?
I know one important saying. It's called, I got to remember. Oh, when you're speaking to someone that speaks Spanish, you say, "Habla más despacio, por favor, estúpido gringo." So
Oh my gosh.
speak
Who
slow
taught you
because
that?
I learned it myself because see if you say something that sounds like you know how to speak Spanish, it comes back to you at like 900 miles an hour and there's no way on earth you can understand what they're talking about. So I admit right up front, I don't know what I'm doing. And then they talk to you like you're retarded or something. So that's good enough to
Oh,
get by. So anyway, so he was with all that time spent with him, did he tell you to speak up or did it just
oh
evolve
yes.
from that upbringing?
No, my dad definitely encouraged me to speak up. He always told me that if you see something that's not right, say it. If you feel like somebody is treating you unfairly, speak up, and etc. So he was my biggest supporter as well as my biggest advocate. And whenever he got, sick due to medical negligence, then I became his biggest supporter and advocate, and the
Mhm.
roles changed because I spoke up for him, when he couldn't speak up for
Right.
himself. And, I took care of him when, it was due to the hospital's fault, where my dad walked into the hospital and 3 days later he got paralyzed from the waist down
Oh boy.
and he became wheelchair bound. So imagine your entire quality of life changing.
Hmm.
It's
Amazing.
not fair.
Yeah. So, um,
And I know you wanted me to share a little bit about what the book is about. So do you still want me to do
absolutely,
that,
yeah,
Tom?
absolutely. But I did want to ask you what advice you would have, because it sounds like you had just a beautiful upbringing, really supportive parents, and good. And but a lot of people either didn't have that, or they just have a different personality, and they're afraid to speak up, especially in the work environment. Um, so, what advice would you have for them?
So I'm going to give three different advices, but they're going to be brief. So, what are you losing by not speaking up? If you are the quietest person in the room, people aren't going to remember you. Just like, for example, in high school, does everyone always remember the nerds? No, because even though they were present, they were almost like non existent because they didn't do something to shake the atmosphere or cause other people to follow suit, like a domino effect. What type of value can you add by sharing your ideas and speaking up? Because your idea may be the only solution to the problem that works. And number three, what type of gifts and talents do you have inside of you that if you don't ignite them, you're allowing them to die? So when you die, your dreams and vision are going to end up in the graveyard because you were too afraid to step outside of your comfort zone and you played it safe your entire life, that now you're walking around with guilt, shame, and remorse. But it was you that chose not to take the action. It was you that chose to keep your mouth closed. It was you that shrunk back versus stepping up to the plate and hitting that ball and making that home run. So, who is the dominator here? What is the common denominator? You. And what can you do to change the trajectory of your life? You can be whole and complete by exercising your gifts and talents, having confidence, asking the right questions, and not co-signing things that don't complete you or attach to your morals and values.
Now, do you think it's easier nowadays in the workplace to stand up for yourself, or harder?
I definitely think that it's easier. And the reason why I say it's easier is because there are policies and procedures in place today that weren't in place years ago when the
Mhm.
baby boomers were going through work. Like, or people before the baby boomers time. Like, for example, back in the day, you all had liquid lunches. You could smoke in the office. That crap won't fly. Um, People brought their kids to work. No, that's not going to fly nowadays. Um, you could say, sexual innuendos and
Right.
etc., and that wouldn't be seen as sexual harassment. The lack thereof for diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. There were certain things that were done back in the day that will not be condoned today. So we are making strides, but are we there yet, perfection wise? No. We definitely have a ways to go, but I could say where we are now is not where we used to be. And that encourages people to speak up more. The Me Too movement, the Stop Asian Hate movement, the Black Lives Matter, the LGBTQIA plus community. Where do you see pride flags waving? Do you think that it was condoned for someone to come out as part of that community back in the day? No, but it's accepted now
Do you think?
because people have raised all hell.
Yeah. Do you think income equality has occurred yet?
Definitely not yet. And the reason why I say that is because I actually had a pay gap and a huge one with my last company. And it wasn't until I spoke up after the entire Black Lives Matter movement that I got a $20,000 salary increase 1 week later, and they bumped up my classification level from a 15 to a 22 because I was underpaid. I was doing the work of someone with a classification level of a 22, but they were paying me as a CL 15. So you do the math and see that big pay disparity there.
So do you think they would have done it if it weren't for all the stuff in the media about getting canceled and all that?
No, and
No.
I don't think
Yeah.
they would have done it if I didn't speak up.
Right. Yeah, they just wouldn't come up to you and say, "You know what? Let's think we'll give you 20,000 bucks extra. Do you want it or not?" Yeah. I doubt if they would do that. Yeah. So tell us more about the book.
Yeah, so I'm going to read the back of the book, and it starts off with two questions. So as I read these questions, Tom, I want you to think about these questions and how they may, resonate with you. So, what challenges in the workplace have you encountered that left you feeling as if you were mistreated? That's one. Have others who were unqualified seemingly pass you by in the ranks? Two. In our daily lives, we are all faced with various trials, whether in the workforce or at home. However, when treated unfairly, it takes courage to stand and fight for what's right, no matter your race, nationality, ethnicity, or background. You can rise to be the game changer. When you use the power of your voice, you shake the atmosphere and cause a domino effect because others will choose to either follow suit or stand in solidarity. On the pages of Chocolate Drop in corporate America, Genesis has chosen to speak up for not only minorities, but also anyone who has been slighted on the job in any way. From her personal testimony, you will learn how speaking up brought awareness so that long lasting change could be made. We do not win by remaining silent, overlooking injustice, and continuing to practice poor judgment. We win by standing together, engaging in those difficult conversations, and helping one another. Let's work together to create change for future generations to come.
Wow, that's very powerful. Now, you asked me to try to relate to it.
Yes.
That's really rough with me since I never had a job. Remember, I'm the screw the commute guy. I did think of an injustice at home, but I had to really think because I live by myself also. So the latest injustice, boy, it's going to be a tough to overcome. One of the dogs out of nowhere just pooped on the floor. So I don't know if that counts, but I know that there's a lot of people out there that could relate to every single thing you said because the workplace. I mean, kind of reminds me of that show, The Office, that everybody's so crazy about. Just there's a lot of people out there that are there because of nepotism. They're idiots and they're telling you what to do. I can imagine how frustrating that would be. So we got to take a brief sponsor break. When we come back, we'll ask Genesis what's a typical day look like for her and how she works with people to help them get past these rotten things that are happening to people out there in the workplace and in life. So, folks, about 24, 25 years ago, I kind of turned the internet marketing guru world on its head in that people at my level were charging 50 or 100,000 bucks up front to help other small businesses learn what they knew. And I knew a lot of these people. If you gave them that kind of money, they'd be hiding out and you'd never get, they'd rip you off, put it that way. So I said, that's too risky for small business. I'm going to do something about this. So I charged a much, like a 10 times smaller entry fee to get into my program. And then I tied my success to your success. So for me to get my 50,000, you have to earn 200,000 net. And so people love this. And 1,700 students later, it's still going strong. It's the longest running, most successful, most unique internet and digital marketing mentor program ever. And we have one of the longest continuously running internet marketing seminars. There was about 3 of us back in the day, and I don't know what happened to those guys, but I'm still here. So It has many unique features, one-on-one training, an immersion weekend at the retreat center here in Virginia Beach. You get in our TV studio. We shoot videos for you, edit them, put the graphics on, and send them to you when you get home. I mean, just all kinds of stuff. Plus, you get a scholarship to the school I mentioned that we have the program for the persons with disabilities, where you get a scholarship that you can either use it for extra training or gift it to someone. It's a $19,000 scholarship. So, and it'd be one of the best things you could do for young people nowadays, because a lot of the four-year colleges are just getting out of hand, charging fees out the wazoo, and you get out with no skills and competing for jobs at Starbucks. So really powerful program. You can check it out, the details, at greatinternetmarketingtraining.com, greatinternetmarketingtraining.com, and then give me a call. We'll talk about your future online. All right, let's get back to the main event. We've got Genesis Amaris Kemp here, and she is, call her the speak out woman, because she is a firecracker and mindset hacker and helps people learn to stand up for themselves. So Genesis, what's a typical day look like for you? Do you get up early? Do you meditate? What do you eat? I mean, what's your life like?
So a typical day in my world, now that I am an entrepreneur,
Mm-hmm.
so I get up in the mornings, take a nice hot steamy shower, just get my engines revved up and get my body pumping. I'll either talk to God in the shower, or I will listen to something motivational that is aiding in my personal development and growth. Then I commute with my mom. I take her to her job because, she wanted to go back to work just to do something for 4 hours throughout the day since my dad passed, which
Yeah.
is fine. Just keep her mind going, and she
Oh,
can
I
hang
get
out
it.
with.
Yeah.
And then come back. I'll make some breakfast, whether I'm making waffles and eggs, or if I stop and buy breakfast. I like the kolache factory. They have these amazing jalapeno popper kolaches that are so good.
What is
Or
it? What is a kolache? I keep passing it. There's one in Virginia Beach here, but I never knew what it was. That's why I never stopped. Well, what is that?
So the kolache factory has a wide variety of various kolaches
What
that you
is
could
a
choose from.
kolache is what I'm asking.
Oh, so it's like a bread with stuff stuffed inside of it.
Okay, a stuffed bread kind of thing. Is it like a little meatball looking thing, or is it
Yeah,
what?
so there's like long ones,
Uh-huh.
long bread stuffed with sausage and cheese inside, or there's round breads that are stuffed with eggs and other different
Oh,
things.
okay.
They're delicious. Don't knock it until you try
No, I'm
it.
not knocking. I just didn't know what it was. I thought it was some Oriental thing.
Yeah. Oh no. I think they're American. I think, but don't quote me on
All
that
right.
one.
All right.
uh, or I'll just stop and get breakfast. I'm a Starbucks girl sometimes, and only because I love getting Starbucks gift cards. So sometimes I'll stop there and get me something, and then I'll come back and I'll jump into my day with podcast recordings. Depending on how many I have, I'll take naps. I love taking naps, y'all. That's one way I could recharge and refuel my body. And then I'll exercise, whether I'm doing an exercise on YouTube, or I'm going out hitting the trails, because at first I was doing Zumba, but the way my body's set up right now, I can't do Zumba due to doctor's orders. So I've just been finding other ways to get that exercise in, so I could continue to look like a mean mama machine.
Yeah. Would you say Zumba?
Yeah, Zumba.
Yeah, I think the doctors would tell me not to do it so I didn't hurt anybody else. Probably if I get moving, I couldn't get it stopped. So, and then, so how do people get how do you work with clients, and what kind of person comes to you for help? Is it usually a corporate person that's getting dumped on?
So there are various people that come to me because I have different businesses that I operate. So with me being a visionary life coach, anyone who is, stuck in their life, they've hit that patch and they don't know what to do, and they just need help to kind of unpack what's going on in their mind and really build their own roadmap, or like I like to call it the GPS to their life, where they're in the driver's seat. I work with those, whether they're entrepreneurs, whether they're people from corporate looking to gain expertise and insight on how to scale and climb the corporate ladder like I did. Or there may be, the average person that is just looking to connect with somebody that will listen actively, that will lead them, and that has been in their shoes but has surpassed it. So those are some of my clients. Then I do have a health and wellness business where I partner with a brand called Kiani. And I believe your health is equivalent to your wealth. How can you enjoy your wealth if you don't have optimal health to do all the things that your wealth could provide for you?
Beautiful. And then how do people get a hold of you?
You could go to my website, which is Genesis, like my name, Genesis, Amaris, Amaris, Kemp, KEMP.net. All of my information will be there. Info about my book, where I hang out on social media, my radio show that I do once a month, and of course, the GEMS podcast.
Wow. So folks, this lady will teach you how to speak up for yourself. I'll tell you that. And that could mean enormous riches for you in the future. It could mean enormous increases in self-esteem, I imagine, too. Would that be fair, Genesis?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. When you're standing up for yourself, you say, man, I did it, So, so thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
It sounds good. So we're going to call this the Speak Up episode, folks. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Check out GenesisAmarisKemp.net. All right, we'll catch y'all in the next episode. See you later.